A very good morning to respected ADG CID Sir Sri PV Sunil Kumar IPS Sir, our respected DIG CID Sir Sri S Hari Krishna IPS Sir. Sir, it is my privilege, sir. In the recent times, CID has been very proactive. We have been conducting many live programs in the field of women and child. In addition to the cyber crimes also, sir, we have conducted Operation Muskan during COVID times. We have conducted a statewide 2-day state-level workshop on Juvenile Justice Act. And we have been conducting series of programs on Forest for You CID live stream channel also, sir. And today, sir, with your initiative and your consent, sir, we have taken up a program on child sexual abuse material, which is widely known as child pornography, which is very much essential to all our police officers who are working in this field, sir. Sir, Mr. Commander Ashok VM Kumar, sir, he is a retired naval officer. He has consented to be a speaker, sir. To be very brief about him, sir, he is a former naval officer. He is an alumni of 93rd National Defense Academy, sir, and he has decorated his career with many of the positions, sir, in naval police, in investigation of naval police, marine police force, Navy Coast Guard, etc., sir. And he receives many awards. He is a Chief of Naval Staff Meritorious Commendation Award. He received Director General Indian Coast Guard Meritorious Medal for saving maximum lives at sea, sir, and Flag Officer Commanding in Chief Commendation for saving lives on burning vessel also, sir. And he has been fighting human and trafficking crime syndicates for the past few years, and he has been directly involved in rescue of over 3,600 women and children from the bondage of human slavery in the last 3 years, working with about 10 states in India in collaboration with police and judiciary, sir. And to be very brief about positions he has held, sir, he is a naval officer. He is head of Naval Police Marshal, Chief Security Officer, Visakhapatnam Airport, Navigating Officer, Gunnery Officer, Regulating Officer, and Signal Communication Officer. Presently, he is Vertical Director, Investigation and Legal as Anti-Human Trafficking Specialist, Justice and Care, and he is also National Director, Investigation and Law Enforcement Development, International Justice Mission, sir. Sir, we request you to please give away the opening remarks so that the session will be open to the speaker of today, sir. Thank you, sir. Namaste.
So, good morning, all of you. Actually, this child pornography is considered very serious offense in most of the countries across the globe. And even Indian government is also very much particular about preventing this kind of child abuse, and especially child abuse to generate child pornography. This is not only violation of rights of the children, it is violation of human rights as well. And this has to be taken very, very seriously. And all the stakeholders, whosoever they are involved, whosoever they have been given the duty of preventing child sex abuse, and especially child sex abuse for generating child pornography, shall take it very seriously. And we should have an understanding on what is child pornography, what are the implications, what is the legal positions, and what steps we have to take in order to prevent this child pornography. So today's speaker, Commander Ashok, I know him well. We participated in some webinars together. He is a very vivid speaker with a lot of authority on the subject, and he do a lot of research before he speaks. So it is good opportunity for all the officers who are participating in this webinar, and this is being live telecasted for. Okay, then all the viewers also will get benefited by this exposure. Thank you, Sirta. Please go ahead.
Commander Ashok, sir, now the session is totally open to you, sir. Thank you. Commander Ashok sir, we welcome to this program, and on behalf of CID Andhra Pradesh Police, we thank you for giving consent to enlighten our police officers and our team on this sexual abuse material. Thank you so much. I don't want to waste a single minute. Now the session is open to you, sir. Thank you very much.
Mr. Ashok? Mr. Ashok? Will you start, please? We are waiting for your.
Yeah, I introduced you, I got all your details and
Yeah, 1 minute. I'm doing. Yeah, okay.
Okay, now you are audible. Please start. Thank you.
Good morning. Am I audible?
Sir, you are audible.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Am I
You
audible?
are audible, and our ADG CID sir, Sri PV Sunil Kumar IPS sir is here. Our DIG CID sir, Sri S Harikrishna IPS sir is here, and all the participants, entire Andhra Pradesh state police officers, especially who are working for women police station, officers and staff are there, and some of the NGOs are there, and some of the interested persons, like-minded persons working for children from Women and Child Welfare Department also are there, sir. The session is open to you, please. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. There seems to be some technical connectivity because of which I couldn't hear. I couldn't even hear the initial address. So I was waiting for somebody to speak, but now I think I'm rectified. Am I visual? Am I audible? Can somebody tell me with the answer? Am I audible and am I visible?
Yes, sir. You are audible, and your screen also is being shared.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's great. Well, first of all, my special thanks to the heads of departments of the states from the law enforcement department. Special thanks to the additional DGP sir and SP Sarita madam and a couple of other people who are there. All the police officers who are part and parcel of this wonderful gathering, the next 2 days session. I want to take a special thanks to mention that this is a subject that needs utmost importance and severity at the level of the law enforcement officers. And I've been asked and given adequate time and space to speak on this subject, which is called child sexual abuse material. Okay, short form of this word is called CID-AP, and most of the countries abroad, especially the Southeast nations, predominantly use the word called CID-AP. So today I've divided my session into 2 parts. Part 1 is today I'm going to do the basics of CID-AP. Very, very basics, which means I'm going to get all of you at the same page to understand the subject, what it is. I know some of you may be at a little higher level. Some of you are DSP, some of you are at a higher ranks in the structure. But there are people from different, so I want to get all of you on the same platform. And tomorrow's session, I will try to take you to the level 2 of an intense teaching on the subject of CID-AP. Okay, so what is CID-AP and why is it important? I want to just begin my conversation there. Well, from an Indian context is what I'm going to speak today to you. Very, 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 very significant to CID-AP, child sexual abuse material, very significant to Indian scenario. Until the year 1980, listen to me carefully, officers, until to the year 1980, CID-AP was a very small spectrum of circulation, which happens to be either in VCDs, video cassette recorders that we used to have, or we used to have DVDs. But with the internet coming in, with the transformation of the internet, CID-AP became a subject that started to bring huge amount of money for the industry, which we call it as a human trafficking industry, an industry that enhances child sexual abuse. So from the year 1990, CSAM began to see a significant increase in demand by people who wanted exclusively material, which is children. So where are we today in India, if I have to give you? I'll quickly take some NCRB data and maybe give you some statistics. NCRB latest data says 1 among the 4 families in India, okay, don't even come forward to report a case of a child abuse. They don't want even to come forward. They are very, very skeptical about coming forward. They don't want even to come and report a kind of a sexual abuse that has happened there. 95% of the sexual abuse cases, the predator or the guy who abused the children happens to be a relative, a known relative, an immediate guardian, or a secondary guardian, or a sub-secondary guardian, immediately known to their members. This is NCRB data I'm giving to you. Okay, it's very interesting. What happens? This is the data of abuse. What happens to the statistics that happen to the child? I want to give you some interesting statistics about what happens to a child who goes through sexual abuse. Okay, statistics tells us, listen carefully, officers, 83% of them have considered suicide as an option after the abuse. I'm going to pause here for some time. Statistics. 83% of the children, the first thought that came to them is that they wanted to commit suicide. The second thought, or second statistics that I can say, 60% of them attempted suicide. 83% of them wanted to really move towards suicide as an option. 60% of them choose suicide as an option. 30% of them already committed suicide. It's very interesting that children in this space and segment generally end up with a great sense of degrading and disrespect among their lives, that they want to see death as an option. And I'm glad that the state like Andhra Pradesh has escalated this issue and wanted to really come to the subject of understanding this at every grassroots level. I hope and I trust at the end of my session and the session tomorrow, you will go back with a different perspective to deal with the subject of child sexual abuse. Let me begin my session this morning. So for those of you out there, I want to begin with a myth. The myth is, it is not child pornography. Child sexual abuse material is not child pornography. That's a different subject to deal with. Sometime when you really want to know what is child pornography, I will deal with it. It's a different subject altogether. But CSAM includes child pornography, but it is not exclusive to child pornography. Okay, let me repeat my statement again. Okay, it includes child pornography, but does not be exclusive to child pornography. So CSAM, child sexual abuse material, very exclusive. It is not just pornography, but it includes child pornography as part of it. The first and the foremost understanding for law enforcement officers. So every time I talk to a police officer, when I talk about CSAM, the first word that they use is, oh sir, it is child pornography. Yes, it is child pornography, but it is not only child pornography. Okay, I hope I'm able to make that point absolutely clear. It includes the talk, but not exclusively child pornography. So let's remove that myth that we are talking about something much more intense and grave than a mere child pornography. The second, I want to discuss with you ABCs of child sexual abuse. The idea of this session is to give you very basics of child abuse. What is CSA? What are some of the myths that we need to break? I told you the first myth I broke is that it is not child pornography. Okay, so I'm going to spend some time in the next maybe 1 hour or so. I would expect officers to interact with me, talk to me, so that you can ask me questions. I'm happy to do this. I've been in this space for about 10, 12 years now, and I'm happy to help you, to guide you, work across the country. So feel free to reach out, and I'll be able to answer these questions based on real-time cases that you're going through. But this session will give you an overview of what I'm going to teach you. We need to understand the very basics of this subject so that officers, when dealing with this case, will be able to see it exclusively. Let me give you a starting point. We managed as a country to remove child sexual abuse out of IPC by bringing POCSO. Very good, fantastic job. We did a very good job. We secluded. Prior to POCSO, all offenses of child abuse were treated as a subset of IPC. But POCSO came out as a special act and said that we can't deal with child sexual abuse under IPC. We need to deal them as a separate act. Well done, fantastic. I think there is no challenge to the POCSO Act. But what we failed as a nation is, after the act came, we have never actually set up infrastructure to ensure that the act kicks in as a functional act into the units of the law enforcement. So it became delegation. I come from the armed forces, and you can be a commanding officer of a unit and also a member of a board, correct? We are doing multiple tasks. We wear different hats. So they said police stations, now you treat POCSO also under the existing police stations. At the most, if the SP or the head of the state or head of the district is wise enough, he would have dedicated a woman force or somebody to just look into it. Beyond that, we have not done anything much on sexual abuse, because our understanding of CSA has always been limited to pornography, digital videos, or to VCDs or VCRs. That's how we've evolved. We have never evolved to a full-fledged understanding of the subject of child sexual abuse. Okay, let me just take you through. First of all, who is a child? I told you the session is going to be very basic. I hope it is basic. At the end of my session, you want the PowerPoint presentation, I will pass it on to Madam. Please feel free to correct it and take it and use it as your presentation. Feel free to do that. Who is a child is a very important question that I want to. The POCSO defines, I'm using a very general terminology, any person below the age of 18, as per the UN Convention on the Rights of Child, okay, the Juvenile Justice Care and Protection Act 2000, okay, and the protection of the POCSO Act 2012. The big picture, the gross understanding of child. So what are we talking about? We are talking about anybody who falls into this category. Anybody. Now here is the question. Sir, what happens if it is a border case? Generally, police officers ask me, sir, as a border case, okay, 18.2, 18.1, what do we do? I want to say this to you, my friends, those of you listening. It's like this. In case of doubt, you always lean to the best side of the individual, and you should always take actions assuming that she's a minor, unless the court gives you an alternative directive based on the decision you have taken. So just because somebody is 18 years one day does not mean that you don't follow the process. You should still treat her on the lower spectrum of the side, not on the higher spectrum of the side. Okay? So don't just say, don't go into the letter of the concept of an age. The concept is the IO can take a decision whether this is an abuse which falls into this category, and your decision continues to hold for the process. Yeah, it continues to hold for throughout the process. So if I have to ask you a question, who is a child? You should be able to understand the perspective that I'm talking about somebody who falls into this category, defined by the law, by the UN Convention, the JJ Act, as well as the POCSO Act. That's the biggest picture of an overview. Well, there are debates. There are lawyers who have written articles on this. Let's not get into that. That's not the whole idea. The idea is I'm giving you a very holistic subject on 18 years. Now, if you interpret it as per the Mohammedan law, there is a conversation. Let's not get into that. I'm not getting into the legal side of it. I'm myself an LLB general, so I don't want to get into that space of discussing what it is or what is not wrong. I'm just giving you a very holistic view as a law enforcement officer. What is the big picture you need to understand? Okay. Second, what is child sexual abuse? The first question is, what is child? Second is, what is CSA? What is this we are talking about? Okay. Child sexual abuse, okay, I put it here, happens when a person younger or older than a child, listen to me carefully, younger or older than the child, male or female, involves the child, a boy or a girl, in sexual activities. The Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act 2012 defines 3 forms of sexual abuse or exploitation. Namely, it talks about sexual assault, talks about sexual assault, sexual harassment, and the third subset that we are talking about is pornography or child pornography. So don't limit your conversations very exclusively to pornography. The order is very clear. There has to be a sexual assault. Most of your police officers, I don't need to explain to you what IPC calls up a sexual assault. Okay, sexual harassment, you know very clearly what I'm talking about, and then child pornography. So what are we dealing with? The moment a police officer gets into a case, your mind should get into it. Is it a child? First question. Second, is it a child sexual abuse? Yes. So how do I define? When sexual abuse happens with a person, younger or older than a child, male or female, involves the child, a boy or a girl, in sexual activities, the POCSO Act defines them into three categories. The kind of offense is defined into a sexual assault, a sexual harassment, or a pornography. Are you with me, my friends? Yeah? Yes, no? Yeah? Great. Can you just give me a thumbs up? Be able to hear what I'm saying? Okay, so that is what is child sexual abuse. Child sexual abuse is exclusively to this definition. So be very careful as police officers when you're going into the spectrum of defining CSA. This is the category it falls into, and we should be absolutely clear why we are defining child sexual abuse. I'm going to pause in between to ask you some questions so that we don't take this complete session only as a one-line virtual. I wish I was there in person to take you this session, but because of COVID-19, we are unable to do that. But I'm happy at least. We thank goodness for the wonderful internet connectivity that we always enjoy, and I hope you'll be able to take it forward. Are you clear with these two questions? I'm going to ask you some questions, and you will have to give me the answers. If you're taking down notes, please take down. The PPT will arrive to you, and feel free to use the PowerPoint presentation. Third, what is incest? These are some definitions I'm using consciously to define so that we understand the subject very intent and correctly as per the law definitions. Incest, listen carefully, is a sexual activity between family members or close relatives is called incest. POCSO defines cases of incest as aggravated offenses. Let me give you an example. If I am a father and I have sexually abused my daughter, then I fall under POCSO, under the definition of incest. And the offense that I've committed is not just an offense, it is an aggravated offense. And many of you know what is an aggravated offense and what is an offense. So POCSO calls out that exclusively when guardians commit a crime of sexual offense, it falls under a different category, and that category is an aggravated offense, and it is also called incest. Okay, so absolutely clear. You understand what is a child. I've done the definition of what is a child. What is a child sexual abuse? I've defined you that. I've also explained to you how POCSO calls out an aggravated offense when exclusively committed by members of the family or a legal guardian, irrespective of their sex. Irrespective of the sex. I'll give you some example of a woman who is committed, is right now in Maharashtra jail. I'll give you an example of that as I can take you through. But what I'm trying to give you is irrespective of sex. So here is something I want to drive across, my friends. We always think the offense has to be done by a male. Not necessary. Irrespective of it. Irrespective of it. It is just any of the family members, gender neutral, commits the offense, then he falls under the category of incest. And incest is an aggravated offense when it's committed against children. Okay, are you with me? I've answered 3 questions for you as I move forward. Question number 4. How many children in India are affected by child abuse? I can give you statistics of Philippines. I've attended some of the NGOs that conduct CSAM, and I'm marveled. All their statistics revolves around Philippines or Manila, okay, or what is happening in the United States, Europe. I'm happy to hear that, but I'm more interested for those organizations to tell me what is happening in our country here. How is it happening? Here is what, as a law enforcement officer myself, worked for the government for about 24 years plus. I want to say this to you. This subject was for many years in our country in denial. We as a country have lived in denial and kept saying child sexual abuse does not happen in my country. We've been saying this. And I want to say this to you as a law enforcement officer. We as a nation have failed to take care of women and children in this country. We failed miserably. For many centuries, we have not looked after our women and children well. We really didn't do a good justice job. We've left it for them to defend, and we left it for them to find a way out for their protection. Thank God, with a new set of officers who come into the law enforcement, I can see a huge sprung of need to ensure that the country is protected for women and children. Okay? So what happens in my country is interesting. So for a season, for decades and centuries, we lived in denial. We would say, "Hamara desh acha desh hai, hamara desh mein child sexual abuse hota nahi hai." We lived in denial. Okay? Which is a wrong myth. Wrong myth. I want to say this to you. Second, we always said, "ये चीज abroad होता है, foreign country में होता है, foreigner करता है, लेकिन हमारा देश नहीं करता." We don't do it as a country. We are not involved in that country. Both are wrong myths. Denial and perception that it is somewhere outside. My friends, you will be surprised today that today media is saying every 15 minutes a child is abused. This didn't spring up overnight, my friends. This existed. It existed. And our women and children have been quiet about it. Now an era has opened up where subject is discussed openly. Like this very platform that I'm talking to you openly on a subject of child sexual abuse is a huge quantum of shift that we have made. Almost everyday newspapers carry reports of child sexual abuse. In India, I'm talking about India, the cases we read are only a tip of the iceberg. CSA is committed in a zone of silence. You know, we have silent zones in traffic. Okay? No horn zones. But I want to say this to you. Child sexual abuse often happens in zones of silence. Most cases are never reported. Never reported. And that's the pity of the fact that we live in our country. I've been working on this subject for many years, and recently I did a presentation on what child sexual abuse really is. You'll be surprised the people who are interested in CID-AP on the dark web do a Google search and ask for gagging is the word used. Gagging means they put a cloth in the mouth of the child and then abuse her so that she doesn't scream. Okay? Bleeding is another search word used in the Google exclusively for looking for child sexual abuse. Okay? There is a different variety of an instinct for guys, for people who are predators exclusively to watching child. And that's the space I'm talking about, my friends. As police officers, you must understand that that is the world where the world we are entering into. Okay? It's committed in the zone of silence. Most of the time, the child remains. And I'm going to help you to identify as I take you through this session. An oft-cited study in the past has indicated that over 53%, listen to me, 53% of the children from across all the socio-economic backgrounds in the country are victims of child abuse. However, we still don't have a concrete data for the number of children groomed, sexually harassed, and exploited every day by the human trafficking industry. We don't have that. But studies tell us 53% of children from all social economic, which means I want to tell you, friends, if you're thinking only a child who's in the slum gets sexually abused, I want to tell this to you, you will be surprised. Today, what used to happen somewhere far off has entered into our schools where our children go. School bathrooms have become a place of sexual abuse. Our bedrooms inside our homes, people visit in your absence. The recent case in Chandigarh, those of you know, a 24-year-old salesman went looking for a house and rent, went and repeatedly raped a child looking for the house because the parent was not available in the house. And he confessed in his confession that he did this with a couple of minor children in Chandigarh. Sent to 14 days of judicial custody by the law, and the process is still on. But what I want to say this to you is, it is entering your bed, it is entering your rooms, it is entering your houses, it is entering your children's bedrooms. And nobody can stop this unless we, people in the uniform, really take this seriously as a subject. Ensure that children in my region are never exploited. And you have to be ruthless on this subject. Unless you're a ruthless police officer, this subject will be like any other case that you deal, like theft or dacoity, whatever you're dealing with regular IPC cases. I don't want you to deal this case as a regular case. We trust, as a law enforcement officer, leave a better nation for the team that comes after us. Okay, and I want to give you these statistics as I take you through. I hope you're understanding. I'm laying some great stress on the officers on the basic study. Does child sexual abuse always means it's touching? Fox Act is beautifully defined. It talks about penetrative and non-penetrative offenses. But here is what I want to say this to you. Child sexual abuse includes both touch and non-touch forms of behavior. Some of the non-touch sexual abuse, let me give you, touch is very evident, correct? Like in the case of rape, we used to have penetration mandatory, but the law got amended and now penetration is no more mandatory. Okay, one of the essential ingredients to prove rape used to be penetration, those of you who studied law, but that is no more necessary now. Similarly in POCSO, okay, touch and non-touch forms of sexual abuse, both are child sexual abuse. As police officers, let me give you some non-touch forms. Verbal abuse and bullying forms under this category. Like, for example, a guy who's going to groom a child will start to do a verbal abuse. This is what he will say to a child. Hey, your breasts are very small. That is a word he'll use. You understanding what I'm saying? That's verbal abuse. Or he will tell her, hey, your thighs are not visible. Can you show me your thighs? Or these are the words that he will use. Or he will start bullying her by saying that, no, you're not growing well. You don't have a feminine features in you. Or he'll tell the boy that you don't have a masculine physique, so you're not a very good boy. I'll help you out to do a masculine physique. So there is a verbal abuse and a bullying. I'm giving you some examples of this. Online sexual abuse. Okay, this is a very common demand that exists today as we move forward. The common demand is online sexual abuse. Okay, we're looking at something that happens digitally. I don't need to come to your place. Most of the games, that children play. Recently, there was a game that was played, and during the game, while they're playing, there's a child is unable to crack the clue. He was not able to crack the clue, and then after repeated tries, he wanted a clue. So he wrote to that the administrator. I'm not able to crack. Give me the clue. He said, sure. Send me the photograph of your thighs, and I will give you the clue. And the child quickly took a photograph and sent it. Online sexual abuse. Okay, showing pornography to a child. Now here there is no touch. He says, okay, you want the clue? I will send you a video. Watch the video, and then I will give you the clue. So the child will click the video, and it is about child sexual abuse. It is about two children committing sexual abuse. There is no touch involved. These are non-touch forms of sexual abuse. I'm spending some time, officers, please take notes so that you're careful. Watching and storing of child pornography. A lot of law enforcement officers have done a lot of work. They've retrieved significant amount of storage data. Is also non-touch forms of sexual abuse. I know of a case that I've handled where this guy doesn't have sexual relationships, but he pays enormous amount of money. A guy in Goa, many of you may be aware about that case, we handled it. He likes to watch children commit sexual abuse. That's what is desired. This guy will never touch. I know another case in Mahabalipuram that we handled. He doesn't like to touch, but he likes to take bath with them. So these are some non-touch behaviors extensively in the case of storing intent. Indecent exposure, like deliberately exposing adult genitals to a child or making the child to do so. Either the adult shows his private parts to the child or asks the child to show the private parts to him. Both form under the category of a child sexual abuse. Photographing a child with a sexual intent. I'm taking a photograph of a child with a clear intention of a sexual act is a non-touch form of sexual abuse. Encouraging a child to watch or to hear sexual acts. You send audio clips of phone call or phone sex. These are some of those things that are possible today where you can actually encourage a child to watch or to hear sexual acts. Inappropriately watching a child undress or use the bathroom. There are extreme behaviors in non-touch. I know of cases where the guy would only pick up the undergarments of the children. He was a fascinator, and he would have a collection of undergarments of children, unwashed undergarments. Okay, it's a case which is there within India. You can understand what I'm talking about. Okay, a child undress. He would find ways to see a child undress or use the bathroom. That is our child. These are all some of the ways by which non-touch behaviors of sexual abuse will happen. I'm going to pause here, my friends, before I move forward. Unless you're fast asleep, I would request you have any questions, feel free to ask before I continue further. It is good for me to give a break to ask you. First of all, 2 questions I want to ask you. Is my speed of communication too fast? Should I slow down? Are you able to understand? I think I'm deliberately going very slowly on the subject. Okay. Maybe I'll ask Sarita madam to maybe come in between. Ask some questions if you have some questions before I move forward on this subject. Any volunteer?
Sir, the session is absolutely clear, sir. It is absolutely fine. Since you know to speak in Telugu, sir, my only small request is occasionally you can use Telugu also, sir, because the participants are from all ranks, sir. Officers nunchi constables varaku unnaru. Meeku kuda Telugu kuda vachu kabatti madhya madhyalo ekkadana you can use Telugu also, sir, to make it more convenient. Yes sir, yes sir. మా సార్ తెలుగులో మాట్లాడితే ఇంకా బెటర్ అని కూడా అంటున్నారు. బట్ the way you are conducting the session is absolutely clear, sir. Even I'm noting down your points, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, madam. Thank you. మీరు ప్రశ్న అడిగేటప్పుడు తెలుగులో అడిగితే నేను తెలుగులో జవాబు చెప్తానండి. నేను ట్రై చేస్తాను. మేడం చెప్పినట్టు నేను తెలుగులో కూడా ట్రై చేస్తాను. నా తెలుగు అంత బాగుండదు, నాది వైజాగ్ తెలుగు. సో ఐ హోప్ ఇట్ ఇస్ కొంచెం పర్లేదు అనుకుంటాను నా వైజాగ్ తెలుగు. If you're able to understand, నేను ట్రై చేస్తాను. నేను చెప్పే పాయింట్ ఏంటంటే బేసికలీ మెనీ ఆఫ్ ద టైమ్స్ పోలీస్ ఆఫీసర్ ఏంటంటే టచ్ చేశాడా, నిన్ను ముట్టుకున్నాడా అలాంటి ప్రశ్నలు అడుగుతారు పోలీస్ ఆఫీసర్స్ ఆర్ హూఎవర్ ఇస్ ద ఎంక్వైరీ ఆఫీసర్. ఈవెన్ సమ్ కౌన్సిలర్స్ కూడా ఆ క్వశ్చన్స్ అడుగుతున్నారు. నిన్ను టచ్ చేశాడమ్మా, ఎలా టచ్ చేశాడు, ఎక్కడ టచ్ చేశాడు. సో నేను ఎందుకు ఈ పాయింట్ ఎంఫసైజ్ చేశానంటే టచింగ్ ఇస్ నాట్ మెండేటరీ.
ఇన్స్పెక్టర్ గారు అయినటువంటి మా సిఐ గారికి నా యొక్క నమస్కారములు. అలాగే వీరనారాయణ గ్రామ పెద్దలకి అలాగే వచ్చినటువంటి పెద్దలందరికీ ఎస్కాట్ పోలీసు వారి తరఫున నా యొక్క నమస్కారం తెలియజేస్తానండి. ఇలా ముందు రండి పర్లేదు. ముఖ్యంగా
ట్రాన్స్మిషన్ మీకు వినబడుతుందండి, నాకు ఇంకో వాయిస్ వినబడుతుంది. ఇప్పుడు పర్లేదా? ఆఫ్ అనేది. సో టచ్ చేస్తారని అడుగుతారు. I want to emphasize, POXO is very clear అండి. టచ్ చేయాలని ఏమి రూల్ లేదు. ఈవెన్ నాన్ టచ్ ఒఫెన్సెస్ కూడా POXOలో కవర్ అవుతాయి. అందుకే నేను డిఫైన్ చేశాను. వర్బల్ అబ్యూసెస్ లో కొంచెం మీకు కొన్ని ఎగ్జాంపుల్స్ ఇచ్చాను. వర్బల్ అబ్యూస్, బుల్లింగ్ నేను ఒక ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఇచ్చాను. వర్బల్ అబ్యూస్ లో there is a case when this particular individual స్పెసిఫిక్ గా అమ్మాయిని ఎలా బులీ చేశాడంటే నీ బ్రెస్ట్ అంత పెద్దవి కాదు, ఐ విల్ హెల్ప్ యూ టు మేక్ ఎ బ్రెస్ట్ పెద్దవి, నీ దగ్గర అంత ఫిజిక్ లేదు, నీ ఫిజిక్ నేను హెల్ప్ చేస్తాను, నీకు ఒక ఇంజెక్షన్ ఇస్తాను, దానివల్ల నీ ఫిగర్ బాగుంటది. సో అలాంటి కొన్ని వర్డ్స్ యూజ్ చేసి హీస్ డన్ వర్బల్ అబ్యూస్ అండ్ లెట్ దెమ్ టు. ఆన్లైన్ సెక్షువల్ అబ్యూసెస్ లో నేను స్పెసిఫిక్ గా ఎగ్జాంపుల్ యూజ్ చేశాను. చిన్నపిల్లలు కొన్ని గేమ్స్ ఆడతారండి. ఒక్కొక్క లెవెల్ నుంచి ఇంకొక లెవెల్కి వెళ్ళడానికి వాళ్ళ దగ్గర క్లూ ఉండదు. ఒక కేసు జరిగింది ఇప్పుడు. ఆ క్లూ కోసం అడ్మినిస్ట్రేషన్ కోసం 7-year-old కిడ్ అడిగారు, నేను ఇన్నిసార్లు ట్రై చేస్తున్నాను, ఈ లెవెల్ నుంచి క్రాస్ అవ్వలేకపోతున్నాను, నాకు ఒక ఈజీ క్లూ ఇవ్వాలి. ఒక్క నుంచి రెస్పాన్స్ వచ్చింది ఏంటని, ఐ విల్ గివ్ యూ ద క్లూ, నాకు ఒక ఫోటోగ్రాఫ్ పంపించు, నీ థైస్ ఫోటోగ్రాఫ్ తీసి పంపించు, ఆర్ నీ బ్రెస్ట్ ఫోటోగ్రాఫ్ తీసి పంపించు, లేదా నీ ప్రైవేట్ పార్ట్స్ ఫోటోగ్రాఫ్ తీసి పంపిస్తే నేను క్లూ ఇస్తాను. ఓకే, సో దట్ ఇస్ వాట్ ఐమ్ ట్రైంగ్ టు సే. నాన్ టచ్ ఫార్మ్స్ ఆఫ్ అబ్యూస్. ఓకే, inappropriately watching children undress. నేను ఒక ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఇచ్చాను. ఇండియాలో ఒక కేసు ఉంది వేర్ ఈ వ్యక్తి ప్రత్యేకంగా పిల్లల్ని ముట్టుకోడు, కానీ పిల్లల అండర్ గార్మెంట్స్ he would collect. ఓకే, he would pick up their undergarments or bathrooms కి వెళ్ళి వాళ్ళని రెస్ట్ రూమ్స్ లో బాత్రూమ్ పీపింగ్ చేయడం కానీ, వాళ్ళు బట్టలు మార్చుకుంటప్పుడు కెమెరా పెట్టి చూడడం కానీ. సో దీస్ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ బిహేవియర్స్ వుడ్ బి ఆల్ నాన్ టచ్ ఫార్మ్స్ ఆఫ్ సెక్షువల్ అబ్యూస్. ఓకే, నేను ట్రై చేస్తాను తెలుగులో అండ్ ఇంగ్లీష్ లో చెప్పడానికి. ఓకే, బట్ బేర్ విత్ మీ, నా తెలుగు అంత బాగా లేకపోతే. గ్రేట్, లెట్ మీ మూవ్ ఫార్వర్డ్. ఇంకో క్వశ్చన్ అండి విచ్ ఐ వాంట్ టు ఆస్క్ ఇన్ ఇంగ్లీష్. ఆల్ అఫెండర్స్ ఆఫ్ చైల్డ్ సెక్షువల్ కేసెస్ మెన్? ఈ క్వశ్చన్ చాలా సార్లు నన్ను అడుగుతారు, సార్ అందరూ మగవాళ్ళైనా ఈ అఫెన్స్ కమిట్ చేసిన ఆడవాళ్ళు అసలు ఉండరా అని క్వశ్చన్ జనరల్లీ అడుగుతారు. మీలో కూడా ఆ ప్రశ్న ఉండొచ్చు. నేను అంటుంది ఏంటంటే మీలో కూడా ఆ డౌట్ రావచ్చు. ఓకే, సో ఐ వాంట్ గివ్ యూ అన్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ అండ్ ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్. శైలజ గోలా అని ఒక రెసిడెంట్ ఆఫ్ కడవాజ్ అండి. Mumbai nunchi anta dooram kaadu, Maharashtra state. Meeku example cheppanu. She is currently in jail serving a term of 7 years for aiding and abetting brutality, rape, murder of several children in an orphanage of a mentally challenged children run by her husband. Okay, the true case. Okay, one example of a woman. Second example vachi meeku oka case telusuntadi Mahabalipuramlo. There used to be a couple by name was Patrick and Priscilla. Husband idar peru. Our case mana Chennai CID has tracked it. We worked in that case for 2 years. But వాళ్ళు కూడా exclusive గా foreign clients ని ఇంకొక they used to send them on a holiday trips. Holiday trips కి వెళ్ళక ముందు they would bring them to Chennai, and చెన్నైలో మహాబలిపురంలో ఒక ఆర్ఫనేజ్ ఉంది. ఆ ఆర్ఫనేజ్ కి ఫారినర్స్ తీసుకెళ్తే అక్కడే వీళ్ళు పిల్లల్ని సెలెక్ట్ చేసుకునేవారు. ఆ పిల్లల్ని వీళ్ళకి ఫారిన్ కంట్రీ ఫిలిపీన్స్ కానీ లేకపోతే ఎనీ అదర్ కంట్రీలో దే విల్ డూ అ ట్రాన్స్పోర్టేషన్ సప్లై ఫర్ దెమ్ దేర్. సో ఆన్ కంప్లీషన్ ఆఫ్ దట్ event the child will come back to the orphanage. Even in that case the lead person was a woman. అందులో కూడా ఒక ఆడమ్మాయి, very specific, Priscilla was to be the one. Siddharth and Priscilla, Siddharth was the man and Priscilla was the lady, but she was the lead person even in this case. Having said that, in majority of cases of child sexual abuse, it is men who have been accused and convicted of the crime. But all over the world, there have been numerous cases where women have been perpetrators and abductors also. When it comes to the safety and security of child, we have to be gender neutral in our understanding. That is the point I'm driving across. The recent case of a professor in Chennai who used to give her own children, who were her students, she would call them for tuition and then supply for services. You know that case in Chennai, correct? The professor that in Nungambakam. Okay, so there are cases of women, but predominantly it is exclusively men. అలాగని చెప్పి మనం ఎక్స్క్లూజివ్గా యాంటీ మెన్ అవ్వకూడదు, యాంటీ విమెన్ అవ్వకూడదు. యాజ్ అ లా ఎన్ఫోర్స్మెంట్ ఆఫీసర్ మన ఒపీనియన్ ఆన్ దిస్ సబ్జెక్ట్ షుడ్ బి ఇట్ ఈస్ జెండర్ న్యూట్రల్. దట్ ఈస్ ద పాయింట్ ఐ వాంట్ టు డ్రైవ్ అక్రాస్. మనం అతను మేల్ కదా అని స్పెసిఫిక్ గా చూడకూడదు, అతను ఫీమేల్ కదా అని స్పెసిఫిక్ గా చూడకూడదు. లెన్స్ పెట్టి ఆన్ ద సబ్జెక్ట్ ఆఫ్ చైల్డ్ సెక్షువల్ అబ్యూస్ మనం జెండర్ న్యూట్రల్ పర్స్పెక్టివ్ తో చూస్తే we will be able to do this a good justice to the job that is assigned. That is the most important point I want to drive. I can make a chala examples in Rebagalno, but I just, because of paucity of time, I'm just giving you a simple example of a recent case of Shailaja, which is available on the which is available in most of these things for you to understand. Now, example for Ichan Mahabalipuram case, which is about 4 years old case, and then recent case, it's 2 years old case of Nungambakam. All these cases, no, women are the lead people who are active. Notwithstanding anti-men or anti-women behavior, law enforcement officers chupinchkodu. They should be generally neutral on the subject of CSC. So that's an important question. Now, chala sarlu adutaru police officers, and I put that as a question, and I want to give you a balanced opinion on that subject, because police officers themselves are men and women, and I want to give a very neutral perspective on that subject. Konni police stations lo which are led by women, they did not handle child sexual offences well. Konni police stations lo which are male dominated, they've handled it very well. కొన్నిట్లో విమెన్ ఉన్నారా బాగా అవుతుంది అనుకున్నాము, అక్కడే బాగా అవ్వలేదు. కొన్నిట్లో మేల్ ఉన్నారు, అక్కడ బాగా అవ్వదు అనుకున్నాం, అక్కడే బాగా అయింది. సో ఇట్ ఈస్ నాట్ ఎనీథింగ్ టు డూ విత్ జెండర్. ఇట్ ఈస్ అబౌట్ హౌ ద లా ఎన్ఫోర్స్మెంట్ ఆఫీసర్ చైల్డ్ సెక్షువల్ అఫెన్సెస్ ని ఎంత సీరియస్ గా వ్యూ చేస్తున్నాడో అంత ప్రత్యేకంగా he give you importance for the subject they will be. So it is not anything to do with a man or a woman. I hope I'm very clear on this. So I'm trying to spend some time on this subject. Like, let me give you an example. Okay, case child sexual offences case, North India case, and it is I went and met the additional DG, and additional DG nominated a very dynamic lady officer, who then gave one of the sub-inspector lady officer, thinking that the lady officer can do a fantastic job. Okay, and as part of the investigation, this lady officer would visit the child's apartment in her police van, and the whole thing, the apartment came to know that police is visiting, what is it, and it became a talk of the entire apartment. Lack of insensitivity can also be dangerous and detrimental for child sexual offences. And again, any point to be specific, I'm taking some time to give you thought. Okay. Next question. I told you this session is all about questions, all about some basics. Do both girls and boys get sexually abused? ఓకే, ఇద్దరికి ఇది చైల్డ్ సెక్షువల్ ఒఫెన్సెస్ అంటే ఓన్లీ ఆడవాళ్ళకే నడుస్తుందా, ఆడవాళ్ళ గురించే మీ సబ్జెక్ట్ మాట్లాడుతున్నావా సార్, ఇందులో మగవాళ్ళు కూడా ఉండొచ్చా, మగ అబ్బాయిలు కూడా ఉండొచ్చా, ఆడమ్మాయిలకు మాత్రమేనా ఈ సబ్జెక్ట్ అని కూడా కొంతమంది నన్ను అడిగారు. సో ఐ వాంట్ ఆస్క్ యు ఆన్సర్ దట్ క్వశ్చన్. ఓకే, మోర్ దెన్ వన్ స్టడీ, చాలా స్టడీస్ జరిగామ్మా, మోర్ దెన్ వన్ స్టడీస్ బాయ్స్ ఆర్ ఆల్సో వనరబుల్ యాజ్ టు అబ్యూస్ as girls. If not more, all children need to be protected against abuse irrespective of gender. పిల్లలు అంటప్పుడు మన జెండర్ చూడకూడదు. We should not look at gender. ఆడమయ మగబ్బాయ అని క్వశ్చన్ కాదు ఇక్కడ. The question is he a child? Is she a child? So unless law enforcement are thinking unte, unless their perspective is like that, ఇది జరిగింది ఒక పిల్లడికి జరిగింది అనే సీరియస్నెస్ ఉండాలి, నాట్ ఒక ఆడమ్మాయి జరిగిందో ఆ మగబ్బాయి జరిగింది అని కాదు ఇష్యూ. The issue is the child is more important than the gender. Abuse is to the child. And the day police stations view this, we will be able to give. Let me give you some examples. Complaint cheyadaniki velte aadamai tana jeevitam paadaipothadi, taniki repu pelli avutada. These are some of the good advices that we get. Chala manchidi advice. But what I'm trying to say is the law enforcement officer's mind lo oka perspective undi. Perspective etante, okay, aadamai future pelli, some society norms. But I want to say this to you friends, ఆడమ్మాయ మగబ్బాయిన sexual offense against children is a serious issue, and మన thinking లో మాత్రం it should be gender neutral. It should be gender neutral. The police officer dealing the case should always say, ఇది జరిగింది, ఈ ఇష్యూ జరిగింది, అబ్యూస్ జరిగింది ఒక చిన్న పిల్లడికి or for a child జరిగింది, not for a boy girl or a boy or a girl. Irrespective of gender, it should be that. That's the point I want to drive today. Why do children don't talk about sexual abuse? చాలా మందికి ఈ జనరల్ క్వశ్చన్ పోలీస్ స్టేషన్స్ లో అడిగారు, ఏమా ఇంతవరకు జరిగింది కదా, మరి ఎందుకు చెప్పలేదు, నువ్వు చెప్పాలి కదా, ఇన్ని రోజులు ఎందుకు ఆగావు చెప్పడానికి, నువ్వు ముందే చెప్పొచ్చు కదా, మీ అమ్మగారికి చెప్పొచ్చు కదా, లేకపోతే మీ టీచర్ చెప్పొచ్చు కదా అని కూడా అడిగారు. మేబీ ద ఇంటెన్షన్ ఇస్ వెరీ గుడ్. వాళ్ళు అడిగిన ప్రశ్నకి ఇంటెన్షన్ చాలా మంచిదిగా ఉండొచ్చు. ద ఇంటెన్షన్ మే బి వెరీ గుడ్. బట్ పోలీస్ ఆఫీసర్ గా ఆ ప్రశ్న అడగక ముందు యూ మస్ట్ అండర్స్టాండ్ వై అ చైల్డ్ డస్ నాట్ టాక్ అబౌట్ సెక్షువల్. ఎందుకు? మీరు పిల్లలు పక్కకు పెట్టండి, అడల్ట్స్ కూడా రిపోర్ట్ చేయడానికి 10 సార్లు ఆలోచిస్తున్నారు. కరెక్ట్? అది వి డోంట్ గెట్ ఇమీడియట్ రిపోర్టింగ్ మెకానిజం. వాళ్ళు కూడా 10 సార్లు ఆలోచిస్తారు, వెళ్దామా వెళ్ళకూడదా, చెయ్యాలా చేయొచ్చా, టాలరేట్ చేయొచ్చా అని కూడా అడల్ట్స్ కూడా ఆలోచిస్తున్నారు. సో పిల్లలు ఎందుకు ఆలోచించరు? They will think, they will take some time. Why do children not talk is an important question. Let me give you some reasons. It is important, చాలా important to understand child abuse from a child's perspective. పిల్లోడి లెన్స్ నుంచి మనం ఆలోచిస్తే ఈ ప్రశ్నకి జవాబు మనకి ఆటోమేటిక్గా దొరుకుతుంది. From the lens of the child, we need to observe and answer this question. Sometimes, listen carefully, sexual abuse starts at a very early age in the child. Chala earlyga begin అవుతుంది. The beginning may not be a physical intercourse. It could be playing with the private parts, nibbling with the private parts. It may start at a very subtle form of a sexual abuse. So there is no specific age for child abuse to begin or to end. నేను హ్యూమన్ ట్రాఫికింగ్ సెగ్మెంట్ లో పనిచేస్తున్నానండి ఫర్ మెనీ ఇయర్స్ నా, మెనీ పోలీస్ ఆఫీసర్స్. నేను ఈ సెగ్మెంట్ లో జాయిన్ అయ్యేటప్పుడు యావరేజ్ ఏజ్ ఆఫ్ ద గర్ల్ యూస్ టు బి 11 years. ఒక యావరేజ్ ఏజ్ అంటే నేను స్పెక్ట్రమ్ లో క్యాల్కులేట్ చేస్తే 11-12 సంవత్సరాలు ఉంటుంది చైల్డ్ టు బి ఫార్మ్. బట్ ఇన్ ద లాస్ట్ 4 years, పిల్లలు as small as 4 years and 5 years are also found in the market. So demand has significantly gone up. It is shameful to see small children offering sex. Sometimes it starts very early in life. Children are unable to articulate what they have gone through. చెప్పడానికి వాళ్ళకి ఆపర్చునిటీ లేదు, ఎలా చెప్పాలి, ఒకళ్ళు చెప్తే ఏంటి రియాక్షన్. There are million thoughts that is running through the child's mind. And adults fail to comprehend when the child is reaching out to them. చెప్పాలని 2-3 సార్లు వెళ్ళినా కూడా they're not able to speak. They're not, and as an adult, ఏట్రా చెప్పు ఏంటి, and conversation వచ్చినప్పుడు they're not able to come to a place of a conversation. So from a child's perspective, it is a battle constant గా. అందుకే నేను ఇచ్చిన స్టాటిస్టిక్స్ 83% ఏ చేద్దాంరా ఏ చేయాలి 83% ఆఫ్ దెమ్ హ్యావ్ కంటెంప్టెడ్ సూసైడ్. చచ్చిపోతే మంచిది ఎందుకు ఇది చెప్పడం, ఎలా చెప్తాం, ఏది ఆ ఫీలింగ్ లోనే వాళ్ళు కాన్షియస్. సో ద చైల్డ్స్ పర్స్పెక్టివ్ ఈజ్ అ వెరీ సఫకేటెడ్, వెరీ డిఫికల్ట్ పర్స్పెక్టివ్, వెరీ వెరీ డిఫికల్ట్ పర్స్పెక్టివ్. Okay, so the only thing that they can think about is suicide. 30% of them already committed suicide. ఈ బతికే బదులు చచ్చిపోదాం అని ఒక థాట్ కూడా వస్తుంది. ఓకే, సో ఎందుకు చెప్పరు అని అడగక ముందు మన ఆ పర్స్పెక్టివ్ బాగా అర్థం చేసుకోవాలి. వీ షుడ్ బి ఏబుల్ టు అండర్స్టాండ్ సైన్స్ సైకాలజీ బికాస్ దే మేక్ రిపీటెడ్ అటెంప్ట్స్. ఎలా కమ్యూనికేట్ చేయాలి, ఎలాగ నేను ఎక్స్ప్రెస్ చేయాలి, ఎలాగ నేను చెప్పుకోవాలి ఆయన ఐక్యూ వాళ్ళకి లేదు, ఈక్యూ లేదు. ఒకవేళ ఉన్నా కూడా అడల్ట్స్ కి అది వినే ఓపిక, టైము, స్పేస్ లేదు. అండ్ దేర్ ఫార్ దే కన్సిస్టెంట్లీ సబ్జెక్ట్ టు అబ్యూస్ క్వైట్లీ. అందుకే ద వర్డ్ యూస్డ్ ఇన్ చైల్డ్ సెక్షువల్ అబ్యూస్ ఈస్ అ సైలెంట్ జోన్ ఆర్ అ జీరో జోన్ ఈస్ వాట్ వి నార్మలీ యూస్. క్వైట్ గా దే విల్ గో టు అబ్యూస్. ఓకే, మీరు కౌన్సిలర్స్ అడగండి, రికవర్ అయిన విక్టిమ్స్ అడగండి, ఎప్పుడమ్మా నీకు అబ్యూస్ స్టార్ట్ అయిందంటే వెరీ అర్లీగా స్టార్ట్ అయ్యింది. Either it could be an uncle, it could be some relative or a neighbor or a worker or a servant. Evado okadu would have started with abuse. Okay, so it would have started very early. Today, talking about body parts and sexuality is a norm in India. Okay, I want to say this very openly, and I'm talking to law enforcement. I've done my master's in military law, and one of the subject I mastered in the military law is on rape, murder, and culpable homicide. Okay, in my early years of investigation in the Naval Provost Marshal, when I used to investigate cases, okay, the first sample that we would take after a rape is their inner garments. Okay, first sperm checks or deposit checks of let's put in checks, permission challenge, we used to gather as evidence. I want to say this to you. In my early years, I'm talking about 80s, 90s, we still have a significant amount of rural population that does not believe in inner garments. That is who we are as a country. Okay, that is the truth about our country. Whether it's boy or male, it is gender neutral. We still have a significant amount of population in our country that doesn't believe. I come from a villages where this is still a norm. It is not a it is not something that is acceptable. This is the truth. Most children and adults think that talking openly about sexual abuse is dirty, even today. లా ఎన్ఫోర్స్మెంట్ మీటింగ్ లో కూడా ఓపెన్ గా మాట్లాడడానికి పదిసార్లు ఆలోచిస్తాం. ఈ సబ్జెక్ట్ మాట్లాడకూడదు. థ్యాంక్ గాడ్ ఫర్ ADGP సార్ అండ్ సరిత మేడం. దే హ్యాడ్ ద కరేజ్ టు ఈవెన్ హ్యావ్ దిస్ టాపిక్. ఐఎమ్ ఏబుల్ టు టాక్ టు యూ ఓపెన్లీ యాజ్ లా ఎన్ఫోర్స్మెంట్ ఆఫీసర్. ఇలా సబ్జెక్టులు మాట్లాడొచ్చా, మాట్లాడకూడదా అనే డిస్కషన్ జరుగుతుంది. కానీ కెన్ వి టాక్ ఓపెన్లీ అబౌట్ అ సబ్జెక్ట్ like I've given an example of one guy picking up undergarments of children, used undergarments of children. Is a behavior pattern. In such an environment, I know of a case where this girl used to go every day to school. This boy and girl, both of them would go, and they would come back without the innerwear. Because there's a guy who's collecting the innerwear there. Happens to be a school teacher. Okay, these are the cases. And the child is every day coming home without an innerwear, and the mother is getting angry, the father is getting angry, and the child doesn't know how to communicate. In such an environment, the children feel that they may be judged and that the blame will be directed at them. Okay, 10 సార్లు చెప్పినా కూడా దెబ్బలు వాళ్ళకే తగులుతాయి అని చేత వాళ్ళు చెప్పారు. ఓకే, దట్ ఈస్ ద ట్రూత్, వెదర్ యూ లైక్ ఇట్ ఆర్ యూ డోంట్ లైక్ ఇట్. అట్లీస్ట్ మీ డెస్క్ దగ్గరకు వచ్చేటప్పుడు ఆ కంప్లైంట్ తీసుకొని మీ డెస్క్ దగ్గర వచ్చేది, దయచేసి మై రిక్వెస్ట్ టు ది ఆఫీసర్, మీరు ఆ ప్రశ్న అడగండి. వెరీ డిఫికల్ట్ ఫర్ దెమ్ టు కంప్లీట్. ఎందుకురా చెప్పలేదు, ఎందుకమ్మా చెప్పలేదు, చాలా కష్టం ఆ క్వశ్చన్ ఆన్సర్ చేయడానికి. ఎందుకంటే ఆ పిల్లడి దగ్గర, ఆ అమ్మాయి దగ్గర అంత ఓపిక లేదు, అంత ఆర్టికులేట్ చేయడానికి కెపాసిటీ కూడా లేదు. దట్స్ ద ట్రూత్. ఓకే, సో జనరలీ దే డోంట్ టాక్, జనరలీ దే డోంట్ స్పీక్. దట్స్ ద ట్రూత్. ఓకే, సమ్ మోర్. Based on the position of the abuser in the family, in the society, in the family of a child, children fear that they may not be believed. Like for example, okay, ఒకవేళ అబ్యూజర్ మా ఫాదరే అనుకోండి, ఎలా చెప్తానండి? ఎవరు నమ్ముతారు? కరెక్ట్. మా అబ్యూజర్ మా చిన్నాన్న అనుకోండి, ఎలా చెప్తాను నేను? మా అబ్యూజర్ మా అమ్మాయి అనుకోండి, ఎలా చెప్తాను? Very difficult. And in 93%, 95% of the cases, the abuses happens to be a known relative. కంప్లైంట్ చేయాలన్నా ఎలా చేస్తానండి? ఎలా వస్తాను పోలీస్ స్టేషన్ చెప్పడానికి? మా ఇంట్లో మా నాన్నగారు. So that's a big challenge. And if the abuser is a family or a family friend, the child may not want to cause a falling out among the elders. Illu name, ma inti paruva, alaati conversations ayi a child doesn't want to do. I'm giving you some child's perspective views, okay, on the subject of sexual abuse. If the child has been taught always to respect and listen to elders, they find it very difficult to talk against the abuser, to say no to them. Very difficult. There are some good movies made in Bollywood, and in, I don't know, you've seen Mohanlal's movie called Lucifer. Chusante chodandi. Andalo very beautiful. They showed a story of a very high society, and the child has been consistently abused by the father. Consistently. And how did he abuse her in that movie? She was addicted to drugs, so he would give her drugs, and as part of a replacement for drugs, he would sexually abuse her. Okay, so they don't know, and the child didn't know how to report it. And one fine day, she was completely broken down, attempted suicide in the movie, and then the truth comes out that his father is abused. So chala kastam andi. In a society like ours, it's very difficult to have a courage for a child to stand up against a man-dominated society. It's very difficult. So as a law enforcement officer, you must understand why the child is not able to speak. The abuser bribes the child in most of the cases to engage in sexual activity and therefore maintain silence. Okay, our story, Chip and Mick, our story law, the child was always given drugs, and therefore he used to bribe her and then abuse her. That is the understanding, and generally the child maintains a lot of silence. Okay, so I've given you some reasons కొన్ని కారణాలు మీకు ఇచ్చాను why a child cannot speak. So ఒకవేళ ఎవరైనా అడిగినా కూడా మీరు చెప్పాలి ఎందుకు ఆఫీస్లో అడగకూడదు. ఎందుకంటే when children are abused, they don't have the capacity to talk. They don't have the capacity to understand. They don't have the bandwidth to express themselves. So they will generally remain quiet. They will generally shrink. They will generally go into a place of a hiding. Okay. The child may also have felt some positive pleasure during the abuse. This adds to the shame and the guilt of the child. Sometimes, okay, the general phrase, okay, whenever an abuser talks to a child, "Nik nachindamma," did you like it? Okay, nu kuda enjoy chesavu kada. So these kind of thoughts are put into the child, and therefore the child feels, oh, nenu kuda enjoy chesanu kada, nenu kuda tappu chesanu kada, na blame nade kada, all kada kada. That guilt also can remain within themselves, and that could be the reason why the child is not able to speak. Some very realistic side of a child's perspective చెప్పారండి. మీకు నేను ఒక psychological teaching ఇవ్వాలని రాలేదు. I'm giving you very practical because I'm working in this space. I understand what a child goes through. As a police officer, you must understand what a child goes through. Okay? Is there a very typical profile who sexually abuses a child? ఏమైనా particular categories ఉన్నాయా? ఎవరు child abuse చేస్తారా అని కూడా నన్ను అడిగారు కొన్ని క్వశ్చన్లు. Some people have asked me questions. ఏదైనా particular category ఉందండి, ఆలే చేస్తారని ఏమైనా గ్యారంటీయా అని కూడా అడిగారు. The answer is no. అలాగని ప్రత్యేకంగా ఏమీ లేదు. You cannot pick a sex offender in a crowd. Okay? ఒక 10 మంది రూమ్ లో ఉంటే అందులో ఈడే సెక్స్ ఆఫెన్సర్ అని పికప్ చేయడం చాలా కష్టం. People who may have sexual abuse children are fathers, mothers, step parents, grandparents, uncles, aunties, cousins, neighbors, babysitters, religious leaders, teachers, coaches. They come from all classes, races, religious background, maybe homosexual or heterosexual. So selection ఈలే పర్టికులర్ గా ఈ గ్రూప్ చేస్తారు and blame children చాలా కష్టం. Very difficult. Okay, they come from all facets of exploitation. Okay, most of those who know about sexually abused children are men, predominantly men, but some are also women. It is important to remember that many terms are used to describe sexually abused children. ఈ సబ్జెక్ట్ డిస్కస్ అయ్యేటప్పుడు కొన్ని వర్డ్స్ యూజ్ చేస్తారు. ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ పీడోఫైల్ అంటారు. పీడోఫైల్ అంటే a person who likes to have sex with children. Sexual predators and word కూడా యూజ్ చేస్తారు. సెక్షువల్ ప్రెడేటర్స్ అంటే నీ నార్మల్ సెక్షువల్ డిజైర్స్ నాకు నచ్చవు, Normal sexual desire ante a man and a woman having sex under the umbrella of marriage. Okay, pilla ayaka jarige idi, or a sex between a grown up adults, a consensual sex between a man and a woman. Okay, but these people, sexual predators ki a normal tendency of sex nachadu. They want something different, and the society lo edaithe not acceptable lo I wanted that. So all unnatural forms of sex. Okay, something different, variety will be different. These category of people are called sexual predators. Pedophiles, naku pillalantene ishtam, I like to make sex only with children. Those are pedophiles. Exclusively interest only for children. Sexual predators kedante general routine naku nachadu, daniki variety evana unte cheppu, something different unte cheppu. So that is what sexual predators. But both are often misused to be clinical or legal definitions. A media stereotypes of a child predator and monsters may actually make it more difficult for us to recognize or acknowledge inappropriate behaviors and around the world. It has been found that most of the predators are known and trusted adults in the family, children, or in the neighborhood. Generally, common pattern is it is somebody who knows the child. General pattern. Okay, 93% of them are known to the child. Remaining 7% could be strangers. Online lo meet chesaro, alaga avachchu. But that percentage continues to be very small. So child sexual offense report avagane, law enforcement officer ki immediate ga you should click. Who are his relatives? Who are the people that this child meets? Last ekkadiki ellamma, everything ello. So you should immediately do those calculations, because generally 95% of the cases it is generally relatives of people from the child knows. Chala important. Okay, what should I do? Because while a child sexual offense report aithe neen em cheyali, what should I do is an important question. Okay, first of all, I'll give you some steps quickly so that you'll be able to take this. First of all, be comfortable with your emotions and make the child comfortable in your presence. Very important. First of all, నేను అంటుంది ఏంటంటే పోలీస్ ఆఫీసర్స్ ఒక చైల్డ్ సెక్షువల్ అఫెన్స్ పోలీస్ స్టేషన్ రిపోర్ట్ అయి ఉంటే, my request to the SHOs and the police officers in charge of the police stations, my humble request, drop everything. Drop everything. The most important case that you should deal that day is the child offense case. Drop everything. So you have to be comfortable with your own emotions. Okay, there are cases report avagane, okay, evarra ante adi pattukonra pilladu munde police officer kottadu vaadu, he's gone and he said, he created a lot of sense of fear and anxiety in the heart of the child. Be comfortable with your emotions. Your emotions can really go haywire. Be comfortable and make the child comfortable in your presence. ఎందుకంటే తన అన్ని హోప్స్ వదిలేసుకొని లాస్ట్ రిసార్ట్ ఆఫ్ హోప్ మీ పోలీస్ స్టేషన్కి వచ్చింది. సో ఎన్షూర్ దట్ ద చైల్డ్ ఇస్ కంఫర్టబుల్ అండ్ యూ. సెకండ్, నేను ఎందుకు అన్నానంటే డ్రాప్ ఎవ్రీథింగ్. మీరు ఈ పని చేస్తాను ఆ పని చేస్తాను చైల్డ్ సెక్షువల్ అఫెన్సెస్ రావదు. యూ హ్యావ్ టు బి కమిటెడ్ ఫర్ చైల్డ్ సెక్షువల్ అఫెన్సెస్. Call up your SP, call up your additional SP. Sir, child sexual offense vachindi, I am dropping everything because I need to be committed on this case. This involves children in my jurisdiction. In my jurisdiction, a child has been abused and I can't stand. Okay, be committed. Be committed to protect the child and the best interest of the child. Hear the voice of the child. What they think should be done. Tana mind lo ela perceive avutundo అది వినండి. ఫస్ట్ బీ కమిటెడ్ ఫర్ దానికి ముందు ఇన్స్ట్రక్షన్స్ ఇవ్వకండి. ఏమా స్టేట్మెంట్ ఇస్తావా, చెప్తావా, ఇవన్నీ తీసుకెళ్ళు మాట్లాడతారు. డోంట్ డూ దట్. బీ కమిటెడ్. అండర్స్టాండ్ ద మైండ్ సెట్ ఆఫ్ చైల్డ్. బీ కమిటెడ్. మీ సైన్ ఆఫ్ బాడీ లాంగ్వేజ్ షుడ్ కమ్ నాట్ as a police officer, should come as somebody who is able to father the child well during the process of an inquiry. Very important. Principle number 3, be careful about the circumstances, repercussions of your action on the child. Very, very. అంటే ఒక చైల్డ్ కేసు నీ దగ్గరికి వస్తే as a police officer you should plan what are the repercussions of this case. What can happen to the child? ఏది జరగవచ్చు. సర్టన్ కమ్యూనిటీస్, కొన్ని కమ్యూనిటీస్లో ఉన్నాయండి, చైల్డ్ కేసు ఆఫెన్స్ రిపోర్ట్ అవగానే అమ్మాయిని చంపేస్తారు, ఆ అబ్బాయిని చంపేస్తారు. సో రెపర్కషన్స్ నేను చాలా ఆలోచించాను. Okay, so you have to think, in case in this case, how do I protect the child? Then after effects AT, how do I look after the welfare of the child? Long-term perspective is more important than a short-term perspective. Adi IO as a first reporting agency, you should be careful. So be very careful. Be comfortable, be committed, be careful. Ensure that you are very clear, principle number 4, about the limitations and the expectations of the child. Okay, our child don't give guarantee, idi chestanamma adi chestan, don't give all that false hopes. Endukante chaala mandi hopes icharu. Let her know that you are not her father. You are only trying to bring justice. Let him or her know. Let the child know that you are only there, and make it very clear. Prepare the child even before she has to go through it. Okay, ensure you are collaborating. Very important. Child sexual offences, we have to collaborate with child's family. If the child family is not involved in the crime, other experts, psychologists, counselors, NGOs, agencies, you must call all of them to the best available resources so that the child gets the best help within this resources. It is not just a police station has to handle the child sexual offense. In India, it is a team of agencies that have to work together. Ensure that you're maintaining confidentiality. Chala important point andi. Child sexual offense deal chestappudu police station lo kuda andariki teliyadu. Discreet, very confidential should be made so that the child's confidentiality is not lost and the confidence is not crushed, and that there is no dependability of the child to move forward. Very important. So ensure that you maintain confidentiality. Consistently, you drive it across that the confidentiality is maintained. Okay, the POXO has very simplified the process. Okay, it calls out some simple processes. Number 1, it asks you to do the recording of the statement. So recording of statement is very important. You know, a line chestan, I'll just give you some highlights of the POXO. Statement should be recorded where the child stays or any place of the child's comfort. అమ్మాయి అబ్బాయి ఆర్ అమ్మాయి, ఆ పిల్లడికి ఆ అమ్మాయికి ఆ చైల్డ్ కి ఎక్కడైతే ప్లేస్ ఆఫ్ కంఫర్ట్ ఉందో ఆ రికార్డింగ్ ఆఫ్ స్టేట్మెంట్ అక్కడే జరగాలి. ఓకే, డోంట్ మేక్ ద చైల్డ్ go to a place where she is petrified and record the statement. Bring the child to a place where she or he is absolutely comfortable and able to do the statement. Who should do the statement recording as per POXO? Preferably a women police officer, not below the rank of a sub-inspector, in the presence of an adult, trusted adult, which is gender neutral. It could be a male or a female. There's nothing wrong with it. But preferably, okay? So, కొన్ని police stations లేదంటే అరే POXO కేసు రా, మన police station లో ఎవరు కూడా లేడీ ఆఫీసర్స్ లేరురా, మనం చేయలేమరా, అది తప్పు. Preferably women police. Preferably, okay? ఒకవేళ లేకపోతే you're free to call an NGO to be along with you while you start the process. Ask an NGO to send you a social worker. ఒక social worker వచ్చి ఉండమని చెప్పండి. Okay? Very, very important that you have a trusted adult. Somebody that the child trusts. It could be anybody. It could be someone that the child trusts. Okay? Okay, case law, the child didn't trust the parent. The child trusted the teacher, class teacher. So we asked madam to come, 7th standard class. She came and she helped us through the process. So whoever the child trusts, it's a trusted adult, not a trusted parent. Okay? How should the statement be recorded? The statement should be recorded in the child's language, as spoken by the child. In case of disabled children, use special educator. If available, use audio video device. If it is available. If it's available, audio video device. So statement ఎలా record చేయాలండి, ఎక్కడ record చేయాలి, ఎవరు record చేయాలి, how it has to be recorded, I've explained to you as given you some very, very broad
ఆప్షన్ రాసి పంపించండి. మీకు ఎప్పుడు నుంచి రావట్లేదు ఆప్షన్ రాసి పంపించండి.
Based on this, we'll decide చేయొచ్చు. Based on this, the police officer can give some more fine-tuned SOPs. మీరు ఒక్కొక్క స్టేషన్ లో మీకు ఇందులో. But the broad perspectives are these. These are the big pieces of our conversation. How can a police officer detect a sexual offense? The majority of cases of child sexual offense may go unrecognized.
Sir,
Unless,
Ashok sir, Commander Ashok sir, ఐ రిక్వెస్ట్ యూ సార్, మనం ఒక మాట అందరినీ పార్టిసిపెంట్స్ని ఏమైనా డౌట్స్ ఉన్నాయేమో ఒకసారి ఇక్కడ వరకు ఉన్న దాంట్లో డౌట్స్ని రిక్వెస్ట్ చేద్దాం సార్. వీ విల్ వెల్కమ్ ది డౌట్స్ ఫ్రమ్ ది పార్టిసిపెంట్స్ సార్. మేబీ
Sure, madam. Sure.
థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్. ఇప్పుడు పార్టిసిపెంట్స్ అందరూ కైండ్లీ మీరు డౌట్స్ ఏమన్నా ఉంటే మిమ్మల్ని ఇంట్రడ్యూస్ చేసుకోండి. ఐఎమ్ సో అండ్ సో ఆఫీసర్ అని చెప్పి మీ డౌట్ ఎక్స్ప్రెస్ చేయండి ప్లీజ్. 2 or 3 questions ఇంట్రడ్యూస్ చేసుకొని అప్పుడు అడగండి. థ్యాంక్ యూ.
నమస్కారం సార్.
Good afternoon, sir. This is Chairman Child Welfare Committee, Karnool, sir.
Cheppandi.
In fact, we are richly benefited by your lecture, sir. మీరు కరెక్ట్గా టెంపో ప్రకారం వెళ్తున్నారు. మాకు యాక్చువల్లీ చాలా విషయాలు తెలియని విషయాలు కూడా చాలా చక్కగా తెలుస్తున్నాయి సార్. ఇన్ఫ్యాక్ట్ వీఆర్ రిచ్లీ బెనిఫిటెడ్ బై యువర్ lecture, sir. One small doubt I have, sir. While dealing with these adult sexual abusers, I think socially it's a sort of disease-like thing. ఎందుకంటే a person who is committing this is an abnormal person. వీళ్ళకి డీల్ చేయడానికి is there any policy move that a government has to introduce in act or any rules? That I wanted to ask.
Thanks, Pillai. Thanks.
You are very active in this field, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Raj garu. Thank you so much for asking that question. Those of you police officers, just COVID begin avaka mundu oka movement start ayindi. That movement is called, there is a group of people who are saying that we are inclined towards having sex. That is a disease in us, and we want to be inclined only. We like to have sex only with children. And a movement begin ayindi. Like you can call LGBT movement. It's a movement they started. That movement is called sexually wired towards children. That's the movement that they've called. Their inclination is towards sexual desire. Now, my question to my answer to the question that asked by Manohar garu is this. Okay, today, as on date, we are expected as law enforcement officers to deal with the case in the interest of the child exclusively, not in the interest of an abuser. Okay, so irrespective of whatever inclination and indication the abuser has, correct, that is at the stage 4 of the process, when he has all the right to defend before the judiciary. But till it reaches the judiciary platform, all the laws, POCSO, JJ Act, IPC, expect the officer dealing with the case in the interest of the child, exclusively in the interest of the child. One exception. The one exception is that if at the time of reporting, the abuser is clinically and medically insane. Clinically and medically insane. Clinically ante, by police officers can find out whether a guy is insane. We have got clinical tests at the police station itself, and then you can ask for help. Or medically insane, you must deal with this abuser as per the laid down norms of a mental SLA. It has to be referred to that case rather than dealing with him like a regular abuser. Ante, he will go into a mental SLM custody rather than a judicial custody in the orders of the court. That's the only exception. But in all other cases, till a new rule comes up, we are expected, all agencies are expected on behalf of the government and this country, is that we have to lean towards the benefit of doubt is always to the child, not the abuser. I hope I've answered, sir, your question on what you have asked. The moment started, I agree with you. Yeah. A movement, I don't support that movement. I personally don't. That is my personal opinion. But movement start out. They're already saying there is a group of people who registered, and they're saying this is how we are wired. Our biological structure wants children. Okay, that's the movement. Now, which direction the society will take it, I don't know. But that is my stand.
I firmly believe, sir, that this aspect, social aspect, has to be introduced in even college curriculum also. I think it will help to a certain extent.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I fully agree with you, sir. I fully agree with you. I'm very strongly leaning towards a child because I don't want. We have not treated our children very well in our country, and I feel that women and children have to be treated well in our country, and it's time for us to pick up the. I'm talking like a Fauji, but that is the way I look at it.
Incidentally, I am also Fauji, sir. I am also ex-serviceman.
Okay.
Indian Air Force.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Any other question?
సార్ నమస్తే సార్.
చెప్పండి.
నేను దిశా డిఎస్పీ మచిలీపట్నం నుంచి మాట్లాడుతున్నాను సార్. సార్ స్టేట్మెంట్ ఉమెన్ స్టేట్మెంట్ రికార్డ్ చేసినప్పుడు నాట్ బిలో ది ర్యాంక్ ఆఫ్ ఉమెన్ ఎస్సీ అన్నారు.
కరెక్ట్ సార్.
ఉమెన్ పీసీఏ ఉంటే సార్ చేయొచ్చా?
పర్లేదండి. సో what I'm saying is this is what the POXO says, correct? But there are police stations where an SI is not there. So what happens is, sir, two things you have to follow. One is you have to take a verbal concurrence from your immediate superior, saying that SI is not there, sir. I'm taking a verbal concurrence and minute it in the initial JD itself.
Okay.
I have to additional SP, and SP has concurred in the absence, and because of government look nice word use here, Chende, on exceptional duty, correct? SP lady officers on exceptional duty, okay, on exceptional government duty. In the absence of which a verbal concurrence has been approved for me from the additional SP, name, rank, number, personal number, and based on which so-and-so officer has been appointed.
ఓకే సార్, ఇంకో స్మాల్ డౌట్ సార్. ఇప్పుడు అమ్మాయి స్టేట్మెంట్ రికార్డ్ చేసినాక సీన్ ఆఫ్ ఆఫీస్ వైజాగ్ లో ఉంది, మా కేసు ఒకటి జరిగింది సార్. ఇట్లా మీరు వస్తే చూపిస్తానని స్టేట్మెంట్ చూపించింది సార్. అప్పుడు ఉమెన్ ఎస్ఐని పంపించమంటారా సీన్ విజిట్ చేయడానికి అమ్మాయితో పాటు, లేదా ఐఓగా నేను డిఎస్పీగా నేను వెళ్ళమంటారా?
Women SP is able to understand your concept and మీరు physically allowance and fund. You don't have to physically travel. If you're sending a lady officer who understands the case, again, okay, sir, it has to be delegated by you by a written memo.
ఓకే, అంటే నేను ఒక కేసు చేశాను సార్, ఇక్కడ మచిలీపట్నంలో ఉన్నాను. అయితే అమ్మాయి కన్ఫెషన్ లో వైజాగ్ లో సీన్ ఆఫెన్స్ చెప్పిన ఇంట్లో తీసుకెళ్ళి చేశాడు అన్నారు. అక్కడికి ఉమెన్ ఎస్ఐ సీన్ ఆఫెన్స్ ఎగ్జామ్ సరిపోతుంది, ఐఓగా నేను చేయకపోతే లీగల్ ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ ఏమి ఉండవా?
లేదు, ఎందుకంటే కోర్టులో when the problem will only come at the కోర్టులో అడుగుతారు మీరు ఎందుకు వెళ్ళలేదు అంటే దానికి యూ షుడ్ సే సార్ మెమో డేటెడ్ సో అండ్ సో I was on exceptional duty, I would have traveled, but because of this is the memo because of which I've delegated this so and so. Most of the times today కోర్టులోనే we don't have written documents అండి. As law enforcement officers we don't show written proof. We only say sir ఆ రోజు ఏదో అయింది సార్ ఏదైనా అన్న verbal documents ఉండదు. మీరు you have to support consistently in child offenses with written evidences. Any decision as an IO, but అది డాక్యుమెంట్ చేయడం వెరీ ఇంపార్టెంట్.
సార్ మీరు మళ్ళీ కొంచెం వేరేగా చెప్తున్నారు. ఇప్పుడు నేను వేరే డ్యూటీలో ఉన్నాను కాబట్టి పంపించాను అన్నారు, అట్లా కాదు సార్. యాజ్ పర్ పోక్సో యాక్ట్ ప్రకారం సీన్ ఆఫెన్స్ కి ఉమెన్ ఎస్ఐని అమ్మాయి విక్టిమ్ గర్ల్తో పంపించడం రూల్ ఉందా?
ఇనఫ్ అండి, నేను చెప్పాను కదా స్టేట్మెంట్ కెన్ బి రికార్డెడ్ బై ఎస్ఐ.
ఓకే, విజిటెడ్ ది సీన్ ఆఫ్ అఫెన్స్, ఐఓ మస్ట్ విజిట్ ద సీన్ ఆఫెన్స్ కదా సార్?
నాట్ నెసెసరీ అండి, నాట్ నెసెసరీ.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Sir, I said child sexual offences has to be functioned as a team. Okay, you have to form the team beginning when the child sex offence says, okay, I'm going to form a team of 4 or 5 people. Usme NGO bhi, you should keep an NGO or a counselor should be part of your team. So as a team, you have to call out and say this is the team that will handle this case. Our team lo meeru point of contact, you are the IO, and as an IO you can delegate anybody to collect any evidence, anything that you want depending upon your discretion. It is your discretion.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Namaste.
Sir, అన్ని cases లో IO వెళ్ళాలంటే సార్ very difficult. Police naukri as it is very difficult.
Thank you. Namaste, sir.
Yeah. Any questions Sunday before I move forward?
Sir, please continue, sir. I don't think any other question is there. Please, sir.
If there are questions, I'll give you some more time, and I'll try to finish it off another. We have got some time. I kept 15 minutes also, so that I'll be taking some questions.
Sir, we'll continue with the session, sir.
Madam, I also want to send this PPT to you. It is a little big in size. Me concern officer ki naaku chepte, I will try to transfer it by a Google link so that in case officers call and you can share this PPT.
Sir, we request you to please share, sir. Maaku kavali kuda. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Then you can share it. Okay, how do I detect sexual offenses? The majority of the cases of children go unrecognized. It's fact and day. After POCSO has come, 3% of the cases are reported as per NCRB data. Okay, 97% of the cases are outside the reporting. How abused children can be detected through a behavior differs through. I'll give you some simple tips which is used by Dr. Shekhar Sheshadri, a very well-known doctor who made a nice, beautiful graph to explain. This graph meek choste meek general behavior children elaga ani meek telusu. So I want to give credits to that gentleman who's designed this. So this graph draw chesarandi. This graph lo I'll spend few minutes for you to understand. This graph oka triangle on the top is small, middle is large, and majority of the children form at the bottom of the pyramid. Okay, so let me help you. What are the categories? Obvious cases of sexual abuse are very clearly identified, but the obvious cases of sexual offenses chala takkuva. Identify cheyagalaganno ane cases chala takkuva. For example, obvious cases lo నాకు ఎలా తెలుస్తుంది చైల్డ్ అబ్యూస్ అయిందని? చైల్డే స్వయంగా వచ్చి చెప్పింది అనుకోండి, నాకు డాడీ ఇలా జరిగింది, అమ్మ ఇలా జరిగింది నాతో డైరెక్ట్లీ చెప్తే నెంబర్ 1 ఆబ్వియస్ కేస్. కరెక్ట్. సెకండ్, డిటెక్షన్ ఇస్ ఆబ్వియస్. అంటే there are cases when the parents have detected child sexual abuse by pregnancy and the stomach is growing. Correct. Obvious cases. మీరు కొంచెం ఫాలో చేయండి సార్ ఈ గ్రాఫ్, ఎందుకంటే చాలా హెల్ప్ఫుల్ మీకు. ఓకే, ఆబ్వియస్ కేస్ is either by disclosure or by detection by pregnancy or a child suffering with a certain urinary tract or a sexually transmitted disease in her private organs. అర్థమవుతుందండి నేను చెప్తుంది? Okay, please listen to me. Or some genital injuries. Okay, tana private portions lo cuts gani, bleeds gani, spottings in her undergarments, they're all obviously give you alarms. That but obvious cases of sexual abuse chala takku andi percentage, chala takku, very small number. Adi meere swayamga detect cheyagale capacity chala takku. Next category of abuse, suspected cases of abuse. Suspected case ante sexual abuse ayindi and na uddeshamlo ayindi anukodaniki 4 symptoms unnayandi. First, child shows sexualized behavior, clear hints given by the child. I'll give you one example. Okay, a child is sleeping and while she's sleeping she's making sexual groans, pleasure groans padukuntappudu. Ardhavutunda meeku? Am I able to clarify it to you? Raju garu ardhavutundandi? Can I yeah, making some sense? Yeah, so there are sexual groans, certain kind of desire, lapothe certain clothes that she wants to wear which is explosive. There are behavior, according to Dr. Sheshadri, some behavior symptoms that you get. There are very clear symptoms that the child goes through. This is the other extremes. Other extremes ఏంటంటే the child goes through a depression, can go through a post-traumatic stress. ఎవరితోటి మాట్లాడదు, క్వైట్ గా రూమ్ లోకి వెళ్ళిపోతుంది, తలుపు వేసేసుకుంటుంది ఎప్పుడు కూడా, ఎవరు రాకంటున్నా. ఓకే, తన కబోర్డ్ లాక్ చేసి ఉంటుంది ఎప్పుడును. ఓకే, బుక్స్ బ్యాగ్ లో క్వైట్ గా ఎందుకు ముట్టుకుంటాం బ్యాగ్, ఎందుకు ముట్టుకుంటాం. సో దిస్ అ కాన్స్టెంట్ సైకాట్రిక్ డిసార్డర్ బిహేవియర్, సడన్ అన్ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్డ్ బిహేవియర్. ఇంతవరకు ఎప్పుడు కూడా అమ్మాయి స్కూల్కి రెగ్యులర్ గా వెళ్తున్న అబ్బాయి ఇప్పుడు నేను స్కూల్కి వెళ్ళను, నాకు స్కూల్కి వెళ్ళడానికి ఇష్టం లేదు, చదవడానికి ఇష్టం లేదు, కాలేజ్కి వెళ్ళను. దీస్ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ అవాయిడెన్స్ బిహేవియర్స్. ఓకే, సడన్ ఆఫ్సెట్. జనరలీ చిల్డ్రన్ డాక్టర్ సేస్ కి ఇంతవరకు ఎప్పుడు కూడా బెడ్ మీద టాయిలెట్ వెళ్ళలేని అమ్మాయి సడన్ గా అమ్మాయి స్టార్టెడ్ టు వెట్ ద టాయిలెట్, యూరిన్ పాస్ చేసింది బెడ్ మీద. ఓకే, స్టమక్ ఏక్స్, పెయిన్స్, generally weakness are all behaviors of a suspected sexual abuse. Are you with me, Andy? Okay, రెండు categories will define చేశారు. The last category, okay, ఇది ఎప్పుడు కూడా రిపోర్ట్ చేయాలి. Children do not report or hint because they are resilient. They've been threatened. చెప్పావంటే చంపేస్తాను, నేను మీ అమ్మని చంపేస్తాను, manipulate చేసి. So significant of cases fall under the last spectrum of reporting abuse. Okay, obvious cases chala takku andi. Ante like you can see the stomach, the pregnant girl, 1-2 months she can hide. After that it's obvious that she's gone through sexual abuse. Obvious cases are very small. Danikanta koncham ekku suspected cases of abuse, and the last spectrum is the maximum cases of child sexual abuse. Okay, thanks to Dr. Shekhar Garu, who has designed this beautifully. Every time a case comes to you, you should immediately fall into the category. Obvious case, is it suspicious case, or is it a case of a manipulation? Okay, the IO should categorize it into one of the three categories, and then he will be able to do justice to the child by either protecting the child or to taking adequate steps. Very important. Okay, today child sexual abuse material likely exists on every platform. Every platform, phone, WhatsApp media, Instagram, a platform lo chusna meeku child sexual abuse material. Okay, that platform uses user-generated content. Consider every digital platform where you can upload a photograph or a video, or you can conceive or just have a widespread issue about it. Abuse material has become more widely available, and we have continued to see that exposure of this content has had a deeply harmful and normalized behaviors that fuel the content virality. Okkasari content okalaki vaste adi oka viral, it will happen 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 hits. Ante the general emerging trend of the society is there is a lot of craving to look for child sexual abuse. So there is a demand in the society. That is the point I'm trying to drive across. It is available in every content and every platform because there's a deep craving for people to even really look at the content. So during COVID, the problem has become very, very significant. COVID lo problem compound very highly compounded. Let me give you some examples why COVID-19 has caused. First of all, financial crisis. People have lost jobs. They are sticking to online platforms consistently. There's a huge loss of financial, which has caused a huge regression in the economic market. So people are not able to go to meet their other forms of entertainment. So they are stuck to online platforms for entertainment. People have lost jobs, and that has caused restricted movement. They're not able to move from one place to another place. Okay. Lockdown has become very, very stringent, and they have been struggling with regulated environment. Okay. All of them have created an environment of chaos and depression. Generally, depression levels have increased during COVID-19. And that has become an ideal environment for human trafficking, and human trafficking has started to thrive in the space of child sexual content. So COVID-19 has increased our problem, has actually not decreased our problem. Okay, let me give you some worldwide behaviors because of COVID-19. 35% of people have started to watch more news coverage than ever before. They are more on the digital platform. 29% of people are watching more films and streaming services. 24% of the people are using messenger services like WhatsApp, Instagram, and things like that during COVID. 23% of them use more social media than what they have. Rural segment social media during COVID-19, people have downloaded WhatsApp app or Instagram app or messenger apps, and they started to communicate. 19% have started to watch more television than what they used to watch. So what has happened? What has happened? Significantly during COVID-19, people have started to glue themselves to the digital platform. And the problem of child sexual abuse has only increased. The assumption is that during the lockdowns must have reduced and had a suspension of human trafficking activity, but the answer is different. Reality is totally different. People are more online during this time than ever in the human history. People are visiting more dark web than they've never visited. Traffickers are using this opportunity to reach out to their prey. Okay. Second truth during COVID: existing victims are stuck. Stuck. More abuses are happening. Therefore, more pictures are coming up. More videos are coming up during COVID-19. Okay, online sexual exploitation has reached its peak. People can't go for sexual satisfaction, so they're looking at something which is available on the virtual media. So with children spending more time, there are higher risks of children being groomed. Many children are likely to be sexually exploited. Okay, the Pornhub, which is made free in Italy, saw a huge rise in the pornographic content, child pornographic content. This is the truth of where we are today on the subject of child sexual abuse. Okay, there is a significant rise on the online platform, and that is threatening. There's a major shift. The shift is this: vulnerability of human trafficking and sexual abuse of children on the line is a steep rise. It is rising, and law enforcement has to catch up with it. Stress, emotional challenges, financial insecurity are all vulnerable predators know how to exploit when grooming a victim. To meet the increased demand of the new material, more and more children are abused on camera. That's what they expose. Demand chala high ga undandi, ancheta more and more children need to supply to this market. What are some of the major threats? Okay, what are some of the things? First of all, the major threats through which children, what they see. Chala important andi. We should always advise our children to be careful. Even in the police stations, you should sensitize within the police staff itself your children what they see. Okay, I'll give you an example, Sandeep. Today's modern day mobile phones, children take it to the bathrooms and they start to view. I want to tell this to you, whether you like it or you don't like it, if somebody wants to take a photograph of you without your permission, he can do it with a smartphone by accessing your phone while you're in the toilet. What they see is very, very important, very, very important. What they do, majority of the children today are started to make friends online, meeting strangers online, and they are likely to fall into the category of sexual abuse. Who they talk to, majority of them talk to strangers on the social media. So these are some of those things in your awareness program. You should be talking to the police officers to appraise them of the people as you move forward. Okay, and children are consistently affected through sexual abuses. They have online sexual abuse material. Grooming happens online. Children are groomed. Okay, live streaming of sexual abuse happens. Okay, and extortion, blackmailing for the purposes of children is also part and parcel of the way abuses that happen against children. Today, I'm told, I was part of a case that we were handling, that guys stand outside a college, okay, or a school, and a guy clicks a photograph of a girl, my photograph is perpetrating this bad. Services, so then the perpetrator now says to trap the child to ensure her. That is the place where extortion, coercion, and blackmailing is picking up in the space of sexual abuse. We are in a dangerous zone. That's the punchline I want to do. So there is a huge thing that we need to understand. There are three kinds of demands in sexual abuse. One is the direct abuses. Rajugar Adignatu, there are certain people who only like children. Pedophiles and sexual perpetrators, they like variety. That is one part of the abuses that are there. They are consistently demanding more and more children. There's a demand. The second is there are intermediaries who support the demand, which could be their family, friends, relatives, friends, acquaintances, who are trying to meet the demand. And there are many underlying factors also. COVID-19 could be one of the underlying factors that could be consistently there to provide ongoing demand of child sexual abuse. Okay, మీరు అరెస్ట్ చేసేటప్పుడు ఈ 3 umbrellas గురించి ఆలోచించుకోవాలి. పర్పెట్రేటర్స్ ఈజీ డైరెక్ట్ అబ్యూజర్, ఇంటర్మీడియటరీ ఆర్ అండర్లైయింగ్ ఫ్యాక్టర్స్ ఏమైనా ఉన్నాయా, తాకి ఇంకో ఆఫెన్స్ రిపీట్ అవ్వకుండా ఉండడానికి we should do this kind of a study. As I conclude, today the reality is this: over 25 million images are viewed by the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children annually. This is the statistics, 25 million. Ante Indian numbers layer ante 4,80,769 images of children per week social platform lo float avutnayandi. That is the number where we are today. Okay, that is the truth and that is the fact about who we are, and that is what is very, very important. That is what is very, very important. And statistics says to us that close to 30% of the people, children who are on the online platform, have met people in marketplaces who have seen them naked on the screen. That is a sad part. Market ki veltappudu what naked somebody has seen that girl or boy naked on the online platform and recognized that this is the same girl who is in the online child platform. And that could be the most embarrassing thing for a child as a future. So there are more than 25 million images right now on the social media. Any media you will take it, it will come. Okay. I want to end with that thought, this session. Okay. I want to end it with questions. If there are questions, I'll be more than happy to answer. Otherwise, I'll hand it over to Sanita Madam. The next few minutes.
Thank you very much, sir. The basics of child sexual abuse material has been very, very well explained and all your expertise is clearly visible here, sir. Sir, as I am additional SP in CID, sir, but I am working as SP Women Protection Cell. I've been given in charge as a SP Women Protection Cell. I myself, I have a few doubts with regard to online sexual abuse, sir. I've attended an international conference which was hosted by International Justice Mission only, sir, this last year at Calcutta. And we were told about this online sexual abuse and the market which crosses millions of rupees in terms of currency also. And many of the participants who participated along with me in that international conference, which was held in Calcutta in last year by IJM, many of them were of the view that what is wrong in that, what is the implication of that online sexual abuse on child, number one. Using child, the parents are earning lot of money, lot of income. So child is not touched. So what? So this is a source of income to lower middle class families or lower class families. So what is wrong in that? That was one of the questions which my group were discussing at that time, sir. So I happened to explain them in my language or with my ideology, but I wanted to listen from you because your word brings lot of experience and expertise. That is number one question, sir. Number two, sir, from the day I have attended that conference, even till today, I have a doubt. What is the intensity of this online sexual abuse in India? So I just wanted to know how much this online sexual abuse is rampant in India, and whether is it only confined to foreign countries or even in India. I'm really sorry, sir. Being a law enforcement officer, I'm asking this because I have my own curiosity, because I'm a mother of 2 children and I happen to be very close with students by virtue of my hobby, speaking to students. So these are the two questions. First one, what are the implications on the child in the long run? And the second one, how rampant it is in India. Thank you so much.
Madam, I agree with the questions, and I appreciate your passion and tenor for this subject. Yeah, I really appreciate that. Okay. Let me just take up the sequence of your questions. What is the impact? Let me take it from question 2 and then I'll come to question 1. Question 2 is, what is the impact of it in our country? I want to say this to you, ma'am. As on date today, our grooming of children aged between 7 to 14 has increased to about 60%. When I say grooming, they are preparing the child for a sexual act sooner or later. In the grooming, it includes modeling photographs, display of certain parts of the body, and also having conversations. It's about 60%. This is exclusively, I'm talking about children in that age bracket of about 7 to 14. I'm looking at that bracket. That's a big problem because significantly our data flow on that has gone to a very great degree during COVID-19. So you should be very careful when your children are online, because sometimes you may not be aware as to whom they are chatting to and how they're getting groomed. It starts with a simple joking, and then the subject moves into a sexual contact. Okay, that is how the grooming begins. That is where we are today. The second part of where our this crime of online sexual abuse is today is here. Child sexual abuse content material has significantly grown up in the last 9 months, even on the pornographical channels of our own country. In spite of the MHA has given a lot of directives of what you call shutting down certain websites, the content has seen significant increase of child sexual pornography. It's available on the platforms. But we are a little different, which I'm making a very important point here. Most of the content today is targeting children below 5. And the content used by them is called cartoon porn. It is called cartoon porn. So there are no physical human beings in that act. It is two known cartoons. It could be Ben 10, it could be Phantom, it could be anybody, but the caricature of that act is a sexual act between two cartoon people. It's two cartoon figures. That is almost 80% of our children in schools are hooked onto cartoon porn. The hope is soon they will transit from a cartoon porn to the real world porn industry. That is the hope in which the industry. So this demand is something that has seen a huge financial inflow of people, that many of these channels of cartoon porn are paid channels, and our children subscribe through a common group. They all pull in money, and one of them subscribes the license, and then he gives the password to the other people, and they all view it. So that is where I'm coming on, where we are today as a country. The third is, ma'am, live streaming. That's the highest degree. Okay, live streaming was a myth or a denial or almost zero about 10 years back, but in the last 6 or 7 years, we have seen a significant rise in live streaming of children, and which is a big piece of the growth pattern that is coming in our country, which is coming from the corridors of foreign influence. It has started to begin, and there are cases where live sexual act has been committed here and live streamed somewhere in UK or using one of these channels. That is still picking up. I won't say it is picked up, but it is still there at 5 to 6% of increase rate, and it's exponentially increasing. I'm not saying it's increasing. So that is where we. Now, how are we as a country affected? I'll tell you, ma'am, for the last 30 years, at least the data that I can look at is about 30 years, our country had high amount of pedophiles who would visit our country. They would land at Delhi, pass through Agra, Mahabalipuram, Konark. This is the route that they would follow, and finally come to Goa and exit the country. That is the pedophile route that has happened. But the pedophiles who came to our country exclusively preferred boys. Exclusively preferred boys. Okay, but today we moved from a pedophile to more violent forms of sexual abuse with children, which include, as I said, gagging, bleeding, screaming. These are the words that they want now, and they wanted to view content which is exclusively violent, and the word used is BDSM, tie the child up and abuse, or gag the child up and abuse, and then live stream it, is of a higher demand, which is also on the rise going forward. So this is where we are on the subject of online sexual exploitation. Coming back to your first question that you asked me about what happens to the life of a child. Okay, it's very important, ma'am, to understand. First of all, the child's spirit is crushed. I disagree to people. There are two views. I work in the human trafficking, and there are a set of people who say the woman is doing this voluntarily, or she's doing this act voluntarily. I'm yet to meet a woman who does this voluntarily. I'm yet to meet. I've never met anybody who does this voluntarily. Okay, circumstances and situations have forced or subjected through threat or use of force for the child to be in that space. So I want to remove that statement across this country. In this country, I don't have any woman who does this voluntarily. We don't have a woman in our country who does this voluntarily. That the woman is there in that space because our systems have failed to protect her. Our systems have not been adequately sufficient enough to give her alternative sources of income or empower her so that she can break free from that spectrum. I've never come across this. So there is a school of thought that's saying prostitution is voluntary. Nonsense. I don't buy that. I don't even agree to that thinking that any woman would choose this profession voluntarily. It never happened. So I want to say that to you. Similarly, ma'am, when it comes to children, I would say touch. Dare anybody touches. I would say that. Dare anybody touches the child. First of all, that is the message the law enforcement should send across to the children of this country. Anybody dare touch a child. Dare. Okay? Forget about it. So the perspective is, if the touch itself is so serious, I am saying non-touch also is serious. Because, ma'am, sexual exploitation moves to touching by a non-touching gesture. It begins with a non-touching gesture. And I've given you some examples. It starts with a comment made by the perpetrator. I've given some examples of saying that he will say, hey, you don't have your six-pack. Show me your six-pack. And the six-pack moves down to his genitals. Or he will tell to the child, you don't have a good figure, or you don't have an adequate breast. And it begins from there to the other parts of her organ. So it starts with a non-touch conversation, but eventually leading to a touch phase of a conversation. So if somebody is saying that, a child is being allowed to do and somebody is viewing, he is not touching her, is utter nonsense. Utter nonsense. Because, first of all, somebody to do anything to my body, I need to give my consent. And across the world, every sane conversation is, child is unable to give a consent for that. Am I right? Even for an adult, we demand consent. That's where we are as a society, correct? Then how can you say a child is incapable as per the law to give consent? And how are you subjecting her to an act saying that it is fine because nobody is touching her? So my view is very strong on that. And I would say, ma'am, it's zero difference when it comes to women and children on touch or non-touch. Both should be equally treated from a law enforcement perspective. That is my view, ma'am. And I want to speak this view wherever I am, and I will be very candid in expressing that.
Absolutely true, sir. Not only that much, that is a non-touch starts and it goes towards abuse by touch. Second one is the child's psyche would be changed from that day itself, sir. Being exploited, being exposed to vulnerable things. Tomorrow, he will lose his childhood. Child will lose his childhood, and tomorrow his mindset would definitely, it would have a negative impact on the child. As an adult, also his mindset would change, and he might become an antisocial element, seeing everything in a very materialistic and physical manner also. So that is another point also, sir. In addition to this. And I also feel that, sir, to add whatever you have explained, I also feel that tomorrow it may be a cause for exploitation of that child also, sir. Whatever child pornography was there, that is a standard document. It is a permanent document. And tomorrow, once the child reaches to his or her adolescent stage, then that may be used as an exploitable material against that child. So definitely he or she may be exploited in future, financially, emotionally, or socially, morally, whatever. So these are all the impacts which child may be exposed to once there is online sexual exploitation or online sexual abuse. Thank you very much, sir. Now I request any participant to please pose your doubts, because sir's time is very valuable. Please introduce yourself and ask the questions. Thank you. ఎవరైనా సరే, ఇర్రెస్పెక్టివ్ ఆఫ్ ది క్యాడర్, ఎవరైనా కూడా మన దిశ పోలీస్ స్టేషన్లో కానిస్టేబుల్స్, లేడీ కానిస్టేబుల్స్ ఎవరికన్నా డౌట్స్ ఉండొచ్చు. దయచేసి ఏం ఇబ్బంది పడకుండా ఫ్రీగా క్వశ్చన్స్ అడగండి. థ్యాంక్ యూ.
క్వశ్చన్ అడగకపోతే అంత బాగా అర్థమైనట్టు, లేకపోతే ఏమీ అర్థం లేనట్టు.
అంటే క్వశ్చన్స్ అడగలేదు అంటే మీరు అంత క్లియర్ గా ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేశారు సార్. హూ ఈస్ చైల్డ్ నుంచి మీరు క్వశ్చన్ అండ్ ఆన్సర్ ఫామ్ లో ఇంత బాగా, అంటే మేము కూడా రాసుకున్నాం సార్. ఐ హావ్ మై ఓన్ నోట్స్. ఐ థింక్ ఐ కెన్ షో ఇట్ ఆల్సో.
I'll send you the PPT, madam. I'll send you the PPT. Keep it.
Please, sir, please. It would be of great use to us, sir.
Right
I would like to continue such sessions.
Yes, sure, ma'am. Sure.
Yeah.
I all of them are police officers of considerable years of service.
It is well drafted and well presented, sir. Chala neat ga chakkaga undi. Well drafted. Thanks a lot.
Good afternoon, sir. This is Chairman Child Welfare Committee, Karnool, sir.
Chappan, sir.
Yes, sir. Nijanga, I must have attended hundreds of seminars and lectures. And I tell you, it is a very lucid explanation, sir. As Madam rightly said, right from who is child kanunchi intavaraku, arati pandu chethlo pettinattu sir maaku. Really, it is. If you want, I can reproduce half of your lecture now itself. Anta baga ardhamaindi, sir. Only thing, kindly see that this material is made available to everyone of the participants, sir. Thank you very much.
I'm sure madam will speak. Yeah.
Any other questions? మన పోలీస్ స్టేషన్లో పోలీస్ ఆఫీసర్స్ కానీ మెన్ కానీ ఎవరికైనా సరే ఏ క్వశ్చన్స్ ఉన్నా దయచేసి అడగండి.
రేపు సెషన్ కొంచెం ఇంటెన్స్ గా ఉంటుందండి. టుడే ఐ జస్ట్ డిడ్ ద బేసిక్స్. టుమారో సెషన్ విల్ బి లిటిల్ ఇంటెన్స్ విత్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్స్. తాకి మీరు రెగ్యులర్ కేసెస్ హ్యాండిల్ చేయడానికి మీకు హెల్ప్ ఉంటుంది. సో టుమారోస్ విల్ బి లిటిల్ ఇంటెన్స్ కేస్. సో అది కూడా నేను పీపీటీస్ మీకు షేర్ చేస్తాను ఆఫ్టర్ ఐ ఫినిష్ సో దట్ యు కెన్.
If there are no questions, రేపటి సెషన్ మీకు ఏమన్నా పార్టిసిపెంట్స్ కి సార్ ఈ టాపిక్ కవర్ చేస్తే బాగుంటుందని ఎవరికైనా అనిపించినా కైండ్లీ పుట్ ఫార్వర్డ్ దట్. డౌట్స్ ఏం లేకపోవచ్చు. రేపటి సెషన్ కి ఏమైనా సజెషన్స్ ఉంటే చెప్పండి. యు ఆర్ వెల్కమ్.
మేడం గుడ్ ఆఫ్టర్నూన్ మేడం.
గుడ్ ఆఫ్టర్నూన్ అండి, ప్లీజ్ ప్రొసీడ్.
మేడం నా పేరు డాక్టర్ కొంగల్ రామారావు మేడం. CSDI NGO మేడం మాది విజయవాడ. సునీల్ కుమార్ సార్కి, మీకు అశోక్ కుమార్ గారికి ధన్యవాదాలండి. చాలా మంచి విషయం మీద చాలా విలువైన సమాచారాన్ని చాలా అర్థవంతంగా వివరించి తెలియజేశారు. ఇటువంటి కార్యక్రమాలు చాలా విషయాలు తెలుసుకోవడానికి చాలా ఉపయోగకరంగా ఉంటాయి. మీ అందరికీ కృతజ్ఞతలండి. థ్యాంక్ యూ సో మచ్ మేడం.
థ్యాంక్స్ అండి, థ్యాంక్ యూ. సార్ ఐ థింక్ దేర్ ఆర్ నో క్వశ్చన్స్ సార్. ఈవెన్ ఇన్ చాట్ బాక్స్ లో కూడా క్వశ్చన్స్ ఏం లేవు. అందరూ అప్రిషియేషనే, నాకు మెసేజెస్ కూడా వస్తున్నాయి. థ్యాంక్ యూ సో మచ్ కమాండర్ అశోక్ సార్ ఫర్ ఎన్లైటనింగ్ అస్ ఆన్ దిస్ మోస్ట్ ఇంపార్టెంట్ సబ్జెక్ట్ ఆఫ్ saving children from sexual abuse, sir. And tomorrow we would look forward, sir. Sir, oka chinna change untaniki avakasham undi sir. Repu 11 o'clock session 12 o'clock పెట్టడానికి ఒక చిన్న ప్రాబ్లం, టెక్నికల్ రీజన్ ఉంది సార్. నేను ఒక్కసారి మీకు ఇన్ఫార్మ్ చేస్తాను విత్ ఇన్ అన్ అవర్. అండ్ ఈవెన్ ఐ విల్ ఇన్ఫార్మ్ టు ఆల్ ద ఆఫీసర్స్, ఆల్ ద participants from police department and other department also, sir. So ఈ ఒక్క చిన్న రిక్వెస్ట్ సార్, ఏమైనా టెక్నికల్ రీజన్స్ తోటి ఒక 1 hour డిలే అయితే kindly give the consent to take your session tomorrow from 12 to 2 p.m. sir, please. నేను ఒక 1 hour లో నేను మీకు కన్ఫర్మ్ చేస్తాను whether there is delay or it is on schedule. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, madam. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
The organization. Thanks, and chala thanks.
Thank you, sir. Thanks to all the participants also for your patient listening, and my humble thanks to Ashok sir for his valuable time. Thank you, and we shall meet tomorrow on the same subject, and it would be very much enlightening. Ivalta danikani inka intense session untundi as sir has told. Kindly participate tomorrow also. Thank you so much, and for today the session is closed. Thank you.